Thinking about buying a business but don't know where to start? You are not alone. First-time buyers often have a lot of misconceptions, thinking that you need a ton of money, or all your customers and employees are going to leave as soon as you buy the business, or that there's no room for growth. In this video, I'm going to be breaking down the key things you need to know before buying a business, how to avoid common mistakes, and what to do to set yourself up for success. Let's get into it.
Welcome to the Power of Biz YouTube channel. My name is Tim Delaney, and over the past 11 years, I've purchased businesses and real estate to build my financial independence. My journey began with buying my first business with just 10% down, and through hard work and strategic decisions, I've been able to create the life that I want. I started this channel to share my story and experiences with the hope that I can help you do the same. Whether you're looking to break free from the 9-to-5 grind, build long-term wealth, or take control of your financial future, you're in the right place. Join me as we explore the ins and outs of buying businesses, the challenges and rewards, and the practical steps you can take to create the life you desire. Together, we'll navigate this exciting journey to financial freedom.
So, the first misconception is that buying a business is too expensive. This is probably one of the biggest things that I hear from people all the time, online, in person, everywhere. People think that you need millions of dollars to go buy a business. It's just not true. Sure, the price tag of some businesses might be high, but think about buying a house. You don't have $200,000, $300,000, $500,000 sitting in your bank account when you go buy the house. You use a bank to finance that purchase. Sure, you might need a little bit of money out of your pocket, but you don't need the full purchase price to buy the business. There are tons of options for getting into that business. One of the first ones and best ones, in my opinion, is seller financing. Let the seller of the business be the bank. Some sellers are willing to finance 100% of the purchase price because they want to make sure that their business carries on into the next generation in good hands with somebody that is going to continue their legacy. How that works is you agree on a price, you agree on a fixed monthly payment for the next 3, 5, 7 years, and you make that payment to the business, to the seller. They get a consistent cash flow for a period of time. They get certain tax incentives because they don't have to pay all that capital gains right on the day of the purchase price, and you get to transition into the business in an easier way. Even if they don't finance 100% of the business, it still can be a great way to get into a business with very little or no money out of pocket. Another way is bank financing or SBA loans, Small Business Administration. These guys back loans for banks up to 90% of the purchase price. That gets financed like a traditional bank, 3, 5, 7, 10-year loan that you pay on monthly, and you just come out of pocket a little bit of money up front to make that purchase. A pro tip is using a combination of both of those, seller financing and bank financing. The SBA will actually consider a seller loan to you as your equity into the business. So you can borrow 10% of the purchase price from the sellers and 90% from the bank. And there you have 100% of the purchase price. That is not always super common, and the business may not be able to support a 100% loan depending on the purchase price and the revenue and the other expenses in the business, but those are options to at least look into. Don't get discouraged from buying a business just because you think the price is going to be too much. Another option is either cashing out a 401k through a method called the ROBS method, or taking a loan against your 401k. So if you don't want to go to a bank or use the seller, if the seller doesn't want to finance it, you can actually borrow money from your 401k to make the purchase. Or you can, like I said, there's a method called the ROBS method that we will jump into further in a future episode, but essentially you are allowed to cash out some of your 401k if you are investing into a business. Another way is partnerships. So you might not have the cash, but maybe you have a friend, family member, or somebody you've met at meetups that is interested in owning a business but doesn't have the time or energy to, but has the cash. You can partner with somebody like that where your sweat equity is your entryway into the business while they bring the cash to make the purchase. And again, you can use that in combination with bank financing and or seller financing. The key is just to know that there are options out there. don't be discouraged or don't think that you can't buy a business because it's going to cost too much money. There are options out there. The second misconception that is out there that I hear from people all the time is, well, what happens if I buy the business and all my customers or employees all leave and I don't have anything left? Valid concern. I'd be concerned about that as well. And there are certain industries where this might be more of an issue than in other industries. But there are ways to mitigate this or to make sure that that's not going to happen. On the employee side, I did another whole video on how to transition when you buy a business with your employees. So could definitely go check that out. But at the core of it, employees have the jobs. They don't want to leave. They like their jobs. So don't necessarily have this fear that just because somebody new is coming in, they're going to run away. And a good transition between you and the seller can also help mitigate that. On the customer side, for a lot of businesses, customers aren't even going to care that there's a new owner of the business. Or for some of them, they might even be excited or happy because there might be something about the previous owner that they didn't like. For some industries, some businesses, what you want to watch for is if too many of the largest customers are only customers because of a relationship with the seller. That is one of the biggest things you do have to watch for depending on the type of business you're buying. If it's a very service-oriented business where the seller has had a lot of direct contact with particularly large customers, you want to make sure that those customers are going to transition. And one of the ways you can mitigate against that is instead of having a set fixed price for the business, you can set up some type of earnout for the seller based on continuing revenue or revenue growth. So that incentivizes the seller to make sure that some of those large customers are going to stick around for 1, 2, 3 years after the transition until you get a chance to prove yourself to those customers and they feel comfortable and happy. Another tip with customers is to make sure that you're going out either during the transition period or immediately after, depending on what your agreement allows you to do, to all the customers. Let them know there's new ownership. Let them know that about the exciting things that you're going to be doing. Don't necessarily talk too much about change right away, but focus on the things that are going to be better for the customers. Maybe you're going to have a way to lower prices. Maybe you're going to have a way to provide better customer service. Go talk to those customers and let them know what's coming with new ownership. They'll be excited, you'll be excited, and they're not going to go anywhere. The third misconception that I hear very often is, well, that business has been around forever. There's no room for growth. It is what it is. Okay, maybe true, but I bet you it's not. A lot of owners get into the habit of doing what they do, and the business kind of is what it is. It stagnates. Even if it's growing a little bit every year, it might not be on a great pace. And a lot of times that's because the owners just get comfortable where they are and they aren't actively seeking new, bigger, better opportunities. This was the case when I purchased my wine and liquor store. The owners had owned it for 20 years. They did what they did. They made a good living. They weren't looking for the new opportunities. They weren't paying attention to their market. They didn't notice that the demographics in the town were shifting and that people were asking and looking for better quality, higher priced products. So that was one of the things that I was able to address almost immediately in a 50-year-old business, just by changing up some of the products that we carried. Another thing that you can look for, even in today's day and age, there's still so many businesses out there that don't have websites at all, or don't have good websites, or have very little to no social media presence. Depending on what type of business you're in, just adding these little things can really impact growth, can add value, can bring in new customers to your business. Again, when I bought the wine and liquor store, there was no website, there was no social media. I knew that I could add a website and I can add social media, and social media worked. We added customers almost immediately, just from regular Facebook posts at the time. We added sales by putting up an e-commerce website. And even though wine is tough to sell online, it still was able to help me grow a little bit more. Geographic expansion. Maybe the previous owners just never felt like providing a service more than a couple miles away from where they are. Maybe you are willing to go a little bit further, add some new territory to your business's operations. Is another great way to grow the business. So don't assume that just because a business has been around forever that there is no room for growth. There's always different ways and different things to find value and grow that business. I shouldn't say always though, because you do have to pay attention to the industry. There are certain industries that may be on a downward trend as a whole, so don't get caught up in the idea that you can just grow any business out there. Take a careful look at it and find something in that business that you can grow from day one. And while you're taking a deep dive into that business, as a way to help you get more comfortable with some of these misconceptions and put them out of your mind, is to make sure you're taking a deep dive into the finances of the business that you're going to buy. So the finances are the heartbeat, blood circulation system of that business. They are 100% necessary to be good in order to be successful. I prefer to focus on looking at businesses that already are profitable, that are a little bit easier to jump into and run with a growth plan, rather than trying to turn around a bad business or a losing business. Not to say it's not possible. There are people that make a lot of money doing that, but it is a little bit more of a challenge and a little bit different than finding a already successful business. So what are you looking for in the finances? First of all, you want to get at least 2 to 3 years, if not a couple more, of financials, tax returns, and books. So usually small businesses are using something like QuickBooks or some type of software to track their income and expenses. Sometimes these reports differ from the tax returns. Sometimes it's just the way the accountants reclassify things when they're doing the taxes, but you want to make sure that if you see discrepancies, you understand why there are discrepancies. You also want to be looking at year to year to year. What are the discrepancies? What are the trends? Are there big anomalies in any 1 year or 2 years that didn't happen in another year? Make sure that you're looking at those things, and it's okay sometimes if there are anomalies or if there's a negative trend in one area but positive trends in another area. Just make sure you understand why those are happening. Don't just say, everything looks great. The numbers last year were awesome. Make sure you look at the trends and make sure you look for outliers or anomalies. And then make sure you're taking those financials and making your own pro forma, your own projections of what will happen. Take a look at those projections as if the business stays the same. Take a look at those projections if sales increase 10, 20%. Take a look at those projections if sales decrease 10 or 20%. And when you're doing this, it's important to understand the difference between variable costs and fixed costs. We'll dive into that topic on another video, but the variable costs are things that fluctuate as sales go up and down, such as if you're selling computers, if you're selling less computers, you're going to be spending less on computers. So that is a variable cost. If you are in a labor-intensive business and your sales are going down, you probably need less labor. But but fixed costs, such as sometimes the electricity bill or your rent, that's going to stay the same no matter whether your sales skyrocket or drop. The electricity thing may vary depending on the type of business you're in, but for a lot of businesses, it's just going to stay steady. So that would be more of a fixed cost. And then the last piece of the financials, when you're looking at it, remember that the seller probably doesn't have any loans on their books anymore. They might not. But when you're analyzing your financials and your projections, do not forget to add in the cost of the debt that you might be using to buy the business. So you might have a business and you're looking at the financials and it says, okay, I'm going to have a $100,000 profit this first year. Don't forget that if you're borrowing a lot of money, you might have $50,000 of loan payments for the year. So you're only going to make $50,000 after all those loan payments are made. Nothing wrong with that. Just make sure you understand, because if your profit is only going to be $30,000, but you're going to have $50,000 in loan payments, that's not going to be a good scenario for you. So one of the other reasons that I like the idea of bank financing is because the banks will help you look at that. they're not going to lend to you if they see those financials that are going to show a negative relationship from your profits to what you're going to owe them every year, because they know that's not sustainable. They don't lend on what ifs, they lend on the solid financials. So that is a very good reason for going to a bank for financing. Even if you don't end up using the bank, at least you get that expert analysis to help you out. Final piece of advice for those of you thinking about buying a business but wondering whether or not it's the right fit or whether or not it's going to be good for you, is at some point you just have to take that chance, take the leap. If you're still unsure about it, remember to have confidence in yourself. Buying a business, running a business is not super complicated. It doesn't have to be. If you're working in a professional job, handling lots of different tasks as it is, you're probably capable enough to be running a business on your own. If you run your household, you could probably run a business. There are also a lot of free resources out there, such as small business development centers or SCORE mentorship programs that will help you. They'll even help you look at a business that you're possibly buying to help you analyze it as well. They'll help you identify market research. They'll help you identify new markets. They'll help you with employees, with insurance, all these different things. So take advantage of those free resources. Even if you're not 100% sure yet, go talk to these places. Tell them what you're thinking about. Talk to other business owners as well. Reach out. If you're even remotely thinking, if you're focused on a particular industry or you like the idea of something, start reaching out to business owners. Stop into the local businesses, shop there, and then ask if the owner's around. Don't ask the employees if the business is for sale. That's a big no-no. But ask the owner, tell the owner something like, hey, I'm really interested in this industry. I'm thinking about possibly leaving my job some point in the future and maybe buying a business like yours or starting my own business in some other geographic location. Any chance I could talk to you for a little bit, either now or take you out for coffee or lunch if you have the time, so that I can learn from your experience. I'd love to hear what you think of the industry overall and how you've liked running your business. Some of them will say no, they're too busy. Some of them love to talk about their business and would be happy to spend plenty of time with you. And at the end of those conversations, ask them if they happen to know anybody looking to sell anytime soon. Sometimes they might be the one that's looking to sell, and that click in their brain might go off. At the very least, you're going to learn more about the industry and hopefully build up your confidence so that you know what to do and you feel more comfortable to buy a business in the future. So, hope this was helpful. Really would appreciate it if you hit the subscribe button, like the video, and leave us a comment below. Which one of these misconceptions has been hanging you up? Or is it a different one? Definitely want to hear those. Take a minute, leave that comment now, and look forward to talking to you again soon. Cheers.